You are sitting in a group conversation. Someone asks a question, and while everyone else is already talking, you are still thinking. Not because you have nothing to say. You have too much to say. You are sorting through 3 possible responses, weighing which one is the most accurate, considering how each one might be received, checking if your tone matches your intention. And by the time you have chosen the right words, the conversation has moved on. Someone else said something half as thoughtful as what you were preparing, but they said it first, so they got the credit. And you sat there, quiet, again. People have called you shy. People have called you quiet. People have assumed you are not interested, or worse, that you have nothing to contribute. But the truth is the opposite. You have so much to contribute that your brain needs extra time to select the best version of it, and nobody has ever explained why. Let me tell you what this is not. It is not shyness. Shyness is the fear of social judgment. You might have that too. But that is not what is causing the delay. It is not introversion. Introversion is about energy. You lose energy in social settings. That is real. But that is also not the cause. And it is definitely not a lack of intelligence. It is the opposite. What you are experiencing is something psychologists call deep cognitive processing. Your brain does not do quick drafts. It does final versions. While everyone else is sending first drafts into the conversation, your brain is editing, refining, and quality checking before it releases a single word. Here is what is actually happening inside your head during that silence. When most people hear a question, their brain processes it through a system called shallow encoding. It grabs the surface meaning, forms a quick response, and sends it to the mouth. Fast, efficient, done. But your brain does something different. Your brain routes the question through a system called deep semantic encoding. Instead of grabbing the surface meaning, your brain pulls the question apart. It analyzes the meaning behind the words. It connects it to your past experiences. It considers the emotional context. It predicts how different responses will land. And then it assembles a response that accounts for all of those layers. Think of it like 2 different search engines. Most people are running a basic search. Type the question, get the first result done. Your brain is running an advanced search with filters, with context, with cross-references. The results are better, but they take longer to load. You are not slow. You are running a more complex search than everyone else in the room, and your silence is not emptiness. It is processing time. But not everyone's silence sounds the same on the inside. There are 4 different things your brain might be doing while the world thinks you have nothing to say. The first type is the accuracy filter. You are checking whether what you are about to say is actually true, not generally true, precisely true. You refuse to say something unless you are certain it is correct. Other people throw out opinions like confetti. You treat every statement like a contract. If I say this, I need to stand behind it. That level of verbal accountability is rare, but it costs you speed. The second type is the impact calculator. You are not just thinking about what to say, you are calculating how it will land. If I say it this way, will they feel attacked? If I phrase it like this, will they understand what I actually mean? Is this the right moment, or should I wait? You are running an impact simulation before every sentence. Most people speak, and then deal with the consequences. You deal with the consequences first, and then decide whether to speak at all. The third type is the connector. You are linking the current conversation to something someone said 20 minutes ago, or to a pattern you noticed over the last 3 meetings, or to something you read 6 months ago that suddenly feels relevant. Your brain does not process conversations in isolation. It processes them as part of a larger web, and weaving those connections takes time that the conversation is not willing to give you. And the fourth type is the translator. You feel the response before you can word it. The answer exists in your body, in your gut, in your chest. But translating that feeling into language is like translating poetry into math. Something always gets lost, and you would rather say nothing than say something that betrays the depth of what you actually feel. Your silence is not empty. It is full of a feeling that has not found its words yet. And this pattern usually has roots, not always in trauma, sometimes just in how your brain was shaped. Maybe you were the child who said something honest once and watched it blow up in your face, so your brain installed a checkpoint. Before anything leaves your mouth, run it through security first. Or maybe you grew up around people who spoke carelessly, who said things they did not mean, who hurt people with reckless words, and you decided quietly, unconsciously, I will never be that person. So you became the person who weighs every word like it matters. Because to you, it does. Or maybe you were simply born this way. Some brains are wired for depth over speed, not better, not worse. just different processing architecture. And here is what frustrates you the most. People have no idea what is happening inside you during those silences. They see someone quiet. You are running a full internal conference. They see hesitation. You are running quality control. They see nothing. You are holding everything. The most articulate version of you lives inside your head. It speaks in complete paragraphs, with perfect timing, with exactly the right words. But by the time it reaches your mouth, it has been compressed, filtered, and edited into something that is safe, but no longer fully you. But here is what nobody tells slow speakers. When you finally do speak, people listen, not because you are loud, but because your words carry weight. You have been in rooms where you said one sentence, and the entire conversation changed direction. You have sent one message that made someone feel more understood than an hour of someone else's chatter. Your words land differently because they were built differently. They were not thrown, they were placed with intention, with precision, with care. That is not a weakness. That is craftsmanship. But I also need to be honest. There is a line between thoughtful processing and hiding. And sometimes thinking too much before speaking becomes a way of never speaking at all. You rehearse the perfect response so long that the moment passes. You filter so aggressively that nothing makes it through. And the world gets silence when it needed your voice. Your depth is a gift. But when depth becomes a wall, the people around you never get to hear what you are actually thinking. And that is a loss. Not just for you, for them. So how do you keep the depth without losing your voice? 3 steps. The first step is the 70% rule. You are waiting for 100% certainty before you open your mouth. The perfect words, the perfect moment, the perfect delivery. Stop waiting for 100. Speak at 70. When your thought is 70% formed, let it out. It will not be perfect. It might be a little clumsy, but here's the truth. A 70% version of your thought is still deeper than most people's 100%. You have been holding back diamonds because they were not polished enough. Meanwhile, everyone else is throwing rocks and getting credit for it. Your unpolished is still better than most people's best. The second step is the thinking out loud pass. You do not have to arrive with a finished product. You are allowed to think in public. Use phrases like, I am still forming this thought, but I am not sure this is fully baked yet, however. Let me think out loud for a second. These phrases do something powerful. They give you a bridge between your internal world and the external conversation. You do not have to choose between perfect silence and clumsy speech. There is a middle ground, and that middle ground is thinking out loud with people who are willing to listen. The third step is the first speaker challenge. Once a week, be the first person to speak in a group setting. Not with the best thought, not with the most profound observation, just with something. A question, a reaction. Even just, that is interesting. I want to think about that. The goal is not to say something brilliant. The goal is to break the pattern of always being last. Because the longer you wait, the higher the bar becomes. And the higher the bar, the less you speak. Speaking first, even imperfectly, lowers the bar back to human level. So let me say this to you. The person who thinks before they speak in a world that speaks before it thinks is not the one with the problem. You live in a culture that rewards speed. First to answer, first to post, first to react. And you were built for depth. Depth takes time. And time in a fast world looks like silence. But your silence was never empty. It was always full. Full of consideration. Full of care. Full of words that were too important to be said carelessly. So speak at 70%. Think out loud with safe people. And break the habit of always going last. Because the world does not just need fast voices. It needs your voice. The slow one. The careful one. The one that means every word it says. And to help you find that balance, I have created a free guide called the Thoughtful Speaker's Playbook. It has the 70% rule practice framework, the thinking out loud bridge phrases, and a 4-week first speaker challenge to help you take up space in conversations without losing the depth that makes you who you are. You can download it using the link in the description. Now, if this video felt like it was describing your brain, you will probably relate to this one too. It is about why you edit your text 5 times before sending, and what that reveals about how deeply you care. You can click on it right here. I will see you in the next one.